If you have 6 to 12 months left on a contract and you want to make it easier for yourself to find another job in tech, this is what I would do. Now, this topic was prompted by, somebody who wrote to me on LinkedIn, and they're facing this similar issue. Now, what I've noticed is that most people, they think about job hunting or they think about talking to a career coach when they've already lost a job or they've been job hunting for a long time. And of course, that's valid. Like a lot of people are like, hey, I've gotten jobs easy enough before, I don't need help, which for some people, yeah, that's true. In this job market, in the tech industry, things are a little different. It's a lot more challenging for folks who honestly were able to easily walk into jobs. So I definitely understand why some people reach out pretty late to a career coach. However, when I've worked with folks who just identified that there could be some changes or layoff happening in their company, those people who work with me a couple of months before the axe drops, they have way better outcomes, not just professionally but also emotionally. I had a client last year, wonderful woman, who was an art director at a company, like an art director, creative director, and she knew that because of changes in the company and the leadership, that they were kind of bringing in a whole new team, and that it was only a matter of time that the new leadership would just bring in their own people, and she wanted to be ready. And we set up over, like, working together about 3 to 4 months. We set up a lot of things in place for her to, one, have a resume that already works, for her to, like, just start her networking and talking to people, catching up with folks in her industry, getting her portfolio to a place where she was really happy to present it to people, but also for her to explore her other options because she was very multi passionate. She had a lot of things that she wanted to do. And while she was with that company, she'd really given them all of her creativity. And since she knew that, things were changing, she was like, okay, how do I take some of this creativity back? And she thought about things that she really wanted to try, not just side hustles, not just creative pursuits, but really how to just bring in more income streams, how to really just feel well rounded as a human. Kind of like knock off things on the bucket list. So we really worked together for 3 to 4 months to just give her like a really good runway and a really good strategy to just, once she got the notice, which, as a side point, she thought that she was going to be very devastated because she had been with this company for years. She had done a lot for them. She'd given a lot to them, and she thought that she'd be emotionally devastated when the time actually came. However, when the axe actually did drop, because we had done so much prep emotionally, she was disconnected. She didn't really feel anything. She was completely fine with the situation at hand. And frankly, that's what I want for all of you. So, what would I personally do if I had 6 to 12 months left on a contract and I just wanted to make job hunting easier for myself? Now, the first thing that I would do is look at my resources at the company that I was currently at. Is there a way for me to maybe spearhead just like a really impactful project? Is there a way for me to see where I can make some contributions that are going to look good on a resume? I would take the lay of the land because not only is this going to help me just as I like talk to other people in the industry in interviews or networking about my impact at this company, this is really going to help me as well if I want to maybe continue on that contract. If the company, can see your value or worth, that can sometimes extend these contracts. Now, what I would also do at the same time is really evaluate my particular goals. Because you might have a goal that does not actually align with you staying at that current company or continuing on with that contract. So I would recommend writing down what are personal, professional goals, creative goals, spiritual goals, physical goals, whatever goals you might have. Because when you have that in your head, okay, these are some things that I want, this is some things that I want to do, that's going to be a lot more helpful for you in coming up with an understanding of what you actually want and what sort of tactics will help you get that. And it's also going to help you know if some things that you want, like let's say personally, are out of alignment with what you want professionally. So, an example is let's say you professionally want to a number of different things. But then personally, you want to have like a baby in a year or two. Children, particularly if you are, a woman, can they require a lot of time. They can disrupt your career in some ways. So if your professional plans include things that would have you in the office like 80 hours a week, that's not really going to be conducive to plans for babies, family stuff, that kind of thing. Not that you can't do it, but I think we've all moved past the idea that you have to do it all. And in fact, it's a lot more, I don't know, impactful in a lot of ways for you just to pick and choose the things that actually matter. What are your actual priorities? Which brings me to my next thing. So let's say you've written down your stuff in a notebook, what you want. I would suggest using a tool like Notion or Trello and kind of organizing just the priority levels. What are the things here that actually like are things that I really want as opposed to things that I think I should want? So let's say, you like this is an example from a client that I had where his dream was essentially to make money online, have more of a lifestyle business, and that's partly in having multiple income streams. And partly that was because his life in tech, as a senior at one of the big tech companies, he did not have a personal life. And he was like, okay, I'm staring 40, the age of 40 in the face. I don't have time to go on dates. I don't have time to do anything, with my family. Like, I get to see friends, like, like every leap year, it feels like. Like, he wanted to have all these things in the personal column. And he also had the dream of having sort of a lifestyle business, multiple incomes. However, he also did have this sort of like hesitation, self sabotage in a way, because he really liked being able to introduce himself as somebody who works at like a big tech company. That was a big part of his identity. So those sort of things were kind of not in alignment with each other. So partly why I have you do that idea of just like going through your goals and your ambitions to prioritize is because then you're going to see what's incongruent with each other. You can kind of see like what is a thing I really want, what is the thing that my ego wants, what's the thing that my mother wants. Go through that. Since you have 6 to 12 months, you have enough time to ideate, to brainstorm, to figure this stuff out. Because if you actually look through and let's say you identify your plan that maybe you didn't enjoy contract work. Maybe you wanted something stable. Maybe you have kids that are growing up and you're like, okay, I need to save up for my kids' college. My partner has health stuff going on. I need to be in a stable corporate job where we have healthcare and benefits and yada, yada, yada. Good. And in fact, I would say that your goals are whatever they are, they're going to be valid. So don't feel like you need to be influenced by things you see on the internet, like, oh, be an entrepreneur, be a side hustle, or be in corporate, be whatever, yada, 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 whatever. Like, you do you, whatever you want. It's your life. Nobody else has to live it. Nobody else can live it for you. So let's say that's your goal. Then that is going to really kind of decide how you're going to do your networking, how you're going to write your resume, how you're going to set up maybe a personal professional brand, what conferences that you're going to go to, as opposed to maybe somebody who really likes the contract lifestyle and wants to get another kind of contract, and they really like maybe like working at these startups or something like that. So their resume, their brand building, their network is going to be completely different from somebody who is looking for something at a, corporation where they can kind of like stay there for a couple of years, where they don't need to like really move. You know, those are going to be the different goals. So the next thing that I would do is, once I've identified my goal, I would identify my people and I would reactivate my network. So if your goal is to maybe start your own business, maybe your own design agency or something like that, then you could use that time that you have in your contract to start building your profile in the local business community in your area. So that could mean maybe giving lunch and learn talks at a local co-working space or the Chamber of Commerce. That could include doing a project for a personal connection where you can get a testimonial on just like how you revamp their website or their marketing presence or what have you. These are the things to think about when you are identifying your people, because people get jobs through people. Now, is that the only way that people get jobs? No, there's millions of people who all the time get jobs through cold applications. However, it is nice to have a warm handoff for your resume from you to your friend to an HR person. So, having people who know of you, who know you, like you, trust you, that does help your job hunt. That also helps you access what's called the hidden job market. So, the hidden job market are essentially job leads that are not posted widely. So you're not going to see them blasted all over Monster, Dice, Indeed, LinkedIn. They're generally kept on the company page, or maybe even just posted like on the social media of the team itself, or just word of mouth. Sometimes you can get interviewed for jobs before they actually are publicly posted. So, when you are kind of cultivating this network, you're building your brand, you're talking to people, keep in mind that this takes time. That's why folks who actually give themselves some runway time to really like think about their career and build it up, those people have an advantage because they're able to warm people up. They're able to let people know, hey, you know, this is me. This is what I do. They're able to have, and here's the thing, they just don't go around asking people for jobs and be like, hey, in 12 months, I'm going to be job hunting. Let me know if you hear of anything. No, they're just having genuine connections with people. They're genuinely reconnecting to folks. They're going to conferences and renewing acquaintances with old coworkers and stuff like that. So when they actually do like need to reach out and just ask if there's any opportunities, it's going to be natural. It's going to be organic. It's not going to be a big deal because they've already been in contact with these people over the last year before with unrelated things, playing pickleball, hanging out at a conference, catching, the train together and getting coffee, whatever. Networking, kind of building up that reputation, making people kind of remember you. That is such a great thing to do if you have this runway time. It takes a while because, people, like, we need to make sure that our schedules match up and everything like that. But it's an investment, not just in getting that next job, but just helping you throughout your career. Now, the next thing that I would do is kind of tied into the first thing where I was like, okay, well, look to see what sort of projects that you can do for your current job. Where can you make a big impact? Where can you get impact statements? Where can you find metrics like conversions, sales, productivity increases, money saved, et cetera, et cetera. That's the sort of information to start gathering as you go along. And it's also good for you to start talking to people in your company, like the marketing people, sales people, customer service people. Because what I've noticed for a lot of people in tech, particularly UX designers, they don't often circle back around and ask people, okay, I deployed this deliverable, it's been out for 3 months. Like, what's going on with that? Checking in. Now, I know that there's plenty of designers who, unfortunately, and also developers too, plenty of folks in tech who are like handing over deliverables to another team, or if they're in a design agency, to another company. And there's no way for them to really do follow up, or it's very difficult to do. Now, if you know that you have 6 to 12 months, it really does behoove you to gather that information. Go out there, search for it. Now, for those of you who are like, okay, but I don't know who to talk to, or maybe the project hasn't um, been around for that while, it hasn't been deployed, that's fine. You can keep kind of like checking in like 3 months, 6 months, 9 months. But what you also should be doing is gathering just like information about what you're doing on the job. Download things like your performance reviews, have that handy. That's going to help you write resumes, because you're actually going to be able to see the things that your manager says is an achievement. If you're a designer, take screen caps of stuff that you've done. Those sort of artifacts from your work can be very valuable for portfolio building. A lot of designers, particularly if they're on a contract, or if they think a layoff's coming but they don't know when, they can immediately lose access to all that stuff. So they don't have anything to create a portfolio or a case study with, or even just like a bare bones, like work sample page on their portfolio, because they didn't gather any of that material. So try to find that stuff, gather it while you're still employed, and just keep like a little, almost like a work diary, a little work log. You don't have to do it every day, of course, but having that information at your disposal where you can refer back to it when you're doing portfolio building, resume writing, things like that, that's great. That is gold, and a lot of people in this job market wish that they had that information, because it's also going to help when you're interviewing. You might not like talk about all the things in a resume. Maybe you feel like you can't share every detail in a portfolio due to maybe proprietary reasons, or you're not sure. But in an interview, that kind of those sort of informations is going to be super helpful. And finally, the last thing that I would do, well, I say last, but it's kind of something where, depending on your goals, you could do a lot of things. Like let's say you want to do content creation. If you wanted to start a podcast, you'd have like a lot more things to do. But in general, the last thing that I would do if I had 6 to 12 months on my contract and I wanted to give myself the best chance of getting into a new job easily, I would do a list of companies that I actually want to work for. And I would start doing a little bit of research. I start maybe connecting with these folks on LinkedIn, some of the designers in their company, the developers, tech people, recruiters, et cetera, et cetera. Just kind of slowly get into that orbit. And then when I had that list, that is going to be my starting point when I start looking for jobs. Because presumably, if you know that you maybe have 90 days left on your contract, and let's say you don't think they're going to extend, or you just don't want to extend yourself, starting to job hunt 90 days before you need to, that's going to help you get into a job way quicker, because the average white collar job hunt right now is between like 4 to 8 months. So if you give yourself at least 3 months worth of lead time, one, it takes a long time for companies to hire nowadays. Like particularly for like this high level tech work where it could be like you could have I had one client who had to do 7 interviews, which I feel like is excessive, but you could anticipate having to do at least 3 or 4 interviews. They're not all going to happen in the same week. Could take a company 1 month to get back to you. It could take a month or so to get through all these interviews. It could take them like a while to do the interviews and deliberations over the other candidates. So having it take like 2 to 3 months to even get an offer, that that is pretty common. Now that is assuming that things happen lickety split. I've noticed that even for really high quality candidates, it can take between like 30 to 60 applications before they even get one interview. So you could also end up sending out like maybe like 50, 100 applications in that first month and maybe not hear anything and only start getting traction like in the second or the third month. So if you start a little bit earlier, you're going to kind of like work out the kinks in your own system of job hunting where you have, and I'm talking about like even just administrative stuff like what resume do I want to use? Where do I want to put my resume files? How do I want to like, you know, write my cover letters? What technologies do I use to like tailor my resumes to different jobs? Like, where do I like to research? Do I actually like the list of companies that I chose upon later reflection? Because I would also suggest, because you're employed in this 6 to 12 month contract, is that you can start doing a little bit of informational interviews and just talk to people in your different target companies. You can use like something like ADP list, or you can just reach out to people on LinkedIn, kind of like pick their brains a little bit about the companies and decide if you really like them. So you might have like some of your goals where you just decide, okay, like midway through your first 1 or 2 months that you don't want to do. So if you start early, you can get all the kinks out. You are more likely to be in a hiring funnel, and you're more likely to get a job offer in like the first like couple of months, 2 months, 3 months, 1 month, whatever, after you lose that contract, before maybe even your unemployment runs out. If you start early, if you pre-plan, and the benefits of like having like a bigger view of your job hunt and building your career is that this is going to help you in the future. It's not just now. So I don't want this to be a super long video, but I just wanted to share my thoughts on what I would do if I just like the rough steps of what I would personally do if I knew that I had like 6 to 12 months. That would be my way of going about it. Now, if you have any questions, you can let me know. And just so you know, if you're interested in just learning a little bit more about my services, or maybe you want to be ready. Right now, I actually have a new kind of offer that I'm doing, because a lot of my client calls and everything that I've done before have been very like open, choose your own adventure. But I know so many folks need to get strategic, they need to get clear on what they want. That is a big thing for folks, and that's really what I want for you. So I have an intensive career consult that I'm offering to clients. It's called Be Strategic and Stand Out. It's for folks who are kind of tired of feeling invisible in a sea of generic applications. It's for people who feel confused, burnt out, or like they're wasting time and spinning their wheels. You know, because the truth is, so many smart, savvy people in tech are struggling right now. They can build amazing products and brands and strategies for their employers, but they feel lost when it comes to branding and marketing themselves. And this is also going to be good for not just people who are job hunting, but the folks who know, hey, I want to future proof myself. I want to make sure that if my contract ends or God forbid there's a layoff this year, I'm ready. So if any of that resonates with you, if that sounds familiar, you don't have to do it alone. I have your back in the 90-minute intensive consult because I want to go into detail. This is going to be 90 minutes. We're going to move into a lot of different areas where we're going to dive deep into your career goals. I'm going to audit your resume and portfolio, and we're going to collaborate on a personalized, actionable plan for success. So by the end of the session, you'll walk away with a crystal clear daily job search strategy. You'll have a plan to upgrade your materials so you can land interviews with confidence. So this is going to be a session for people who are in tech or creative fields. So designers, marketers, developers, product professionals, folks who are in the tech and creative space, who want to stop spinning the wheels. They want to start moving forward. Don't wait for the job market to change, for your circumstances to just kind of blindside you. Take control of your career now. I have those sessions open. As always, I'm very transparent about my prices. This 90-minute session is $200. Reach out to me if this is something that you want. I can send you a link so you can book and pay at your convenience. Let me know how I can help you because I got your back. I've been doing this for 10 years now. My clients have gone on to work for companies like Spotify, Netflix, and I really want to help you guys. I want you guys to succeed, and I want you guys to be very strategic about how you go about this. Because when you're strategic, it's empowering. And when you have a firm, clear goal in mind, you can run towards it and you can get there quicker. And I'd love to help you. Anyway, that's me, and this is my Thursday Lunch and Learn session. I hope this was helpful. Like I said, if you have questions or you want to learn more about my